Hi, my name is Jerry Montag, and something happened to me during the last couple weeks of December, and the pastors overheard the story and asked that I take a few minutes and share this story with all of you. I work for AT&T, and I have for 20 years, and I work downtown Indianapolis, about one block north of the Circle. I park in a surface lot about a little over half a mile away behind the Scottish Rite Cathedral. So I have a nice little half-mile walk in and then back out to my car every day. And throughout the 20 years that I've been doing this, I have met some very interesting people. But there's one lady that has just really stood out to me. Her name is Renee. She is disabled, and she's raising a small boy, her son. His name is Gerald, and he's 11 years old. The interesting part about her is we all see people when we're walking every day, doing whatever we're doing. We say hi, it's just cordial, greetings. And every once in a while we say, well, how are you? And her answer was always blessed and highly favored. I found that to be very interesting because I could see that she was struggling. On December 12th, I was running late, and I came out of my office and headed towards my car. And she was standing outside, and she was by herself. Gerald wasn't standing with her at that point. And she took a piece of paper and she handed it to me. And she said, would it be possible for you to pick something off that list so that I might have something underneath the tree for Gerald for Christmas? I headed back to my car and I just shoved the piece of paper in my pocket. I told her I'd see what I could do. I just so happened to be headed towards our men's group meeting that night. The theme for December was obviously the holidays and Christmas. The questions that started with were stuff like, things where you ask someone, what's a favorite memory that you have of Christmas, and share that memory with us, and something very easy to talk about. And then as you go down through the questions, down at the end, they're a little more challenging. The questions are a little more thought-provoking. And the question was, if you had an opportunity to do one thing to make someone's Christmas very special, what would that be? The paper in my pocket seemed to be weighted, seemed to be heavy. And nobody around the table was saying anything. And so I told the group, I said, hey, I could have possibly something to share with all of you. I pulled the paper out and I told them the story about Renee and Gerald. And I told them that I hadn't even looked at the piece of paper to see what it said on it. It was shirts, it was socks, it was underwear. There were no electronics. There were no games, there were no toys. Like all of our kids asked for. There were no cell phones, iPads, none of that. It was closed. Well, the table looked at me and they go, Jerry, I don't think that we can top or match that. That's just incredible. What we'd like to do is we would like to pitch in. At the end of the night, I walked out of there with over $500. So my wife and I went to the store and we picked up everything on the list and multiple items, mostly of everything on the list. We also bought some non-perishable foods. Well, it didn't stop there. It continued to grow. We delivered, my wife and I wrapped all the gifts. I delivered everything on Monday. That would make it the 16th or something. And then my phone started to ring. One of the gentlemen, Brian Kazmucha, called me and asked me, he had just received 2 Pacers tickets to a Pacers game and wondered if they would like to go to a Pacers game and if that would even be possible. So I contacted Renee, and she told me that he's never been to a game and would love it. Now, these were corporate seats. They were 30 rows up from the floor. And it gets better because the guy who sits behind me, while I was talking to Brian and a couple others, had overheard my story. And so then he turned around and he went down to the ATM and got 40 bucks, handed me $40 and said, will you please make sure and give this to them so they could buy a Coke. and a hot dog, knowing that they would not have the money to do that. Then he said to me, and I'm hearing you talk about this men's group, and this sounds really neat. He said, if there's any way, he said, would you share some of the details about when you guys meet and where you meet? And I'd love to come. It really, really sounds cool. God spoke, and this time I listened. When has God spoken to you? And what did you do when he did? In this situation, I truly believe that he was speaking to me. And we did really make somebody's Christmas special.